I'm going to be showing you how you can make this really cute but fancy looking card when it comes to Subs Box 35, all about the penny sliders. Now, how cute is this one? So I'm going to keep going round and round. This is using the mouse, and this is using our aperture die in a completely different way, so we can get all of that movement. So much fun, but it is a very easy card to be making. What I'm going to do is I've taken a piece of Neenah cardstock and I've already cut it down to 4 3/4 by 4 3/4. This is going to be our main layer that we're going to do our stamping on, but we're also going to do our die cutting too. So to start with, what we're going to do is we're going to stamp our main design. So what we can do is let's get these layers to the side. I'm going to use the cupcake. Let's go in with some of these hundreds and thousands that we can see at the bottom here. Maybe a few love hearts. So we've got them good to go. And I think that will do for now. So now that I've got my stamps there ready to go, I can bring in my worker die. So what we can do with this one is to start with, just visualize where you want it to go. So this one here, I'm going to have this angle here. Now, at this point, what this will do, this will stay in the same place, and all that we'll end up doing is turning it around so that we are going to get that angle that we can see a moment ago. So what I can do to start with, if you do want to use a pencil line, you can do. I'm not. I'm going to go straight in at this angle. We're, of course, going to use our low-tack tape just to secure it down so it doesn't move. And then I'm going to pop my tape. Let's pop it just in a couple of areas at each side so it's nice and held and sturdy. With this die here, we're going to pop it onto our Gemini Junior plate. And the size of this one means it will go through our Gemini MIDI. That's going to go through, so that's going to do that initial cut of that worker aperture. So as that goes through, we can wait on it coming out, and we can then reposition the die. So we're going to take it out completely, so we can gently move that one out of the way. Let's take our little bits off, and we can then go back with the die, and we can then, making sure that this end is bang on crossover at the side that we can see just here and no more. Let's have a look and see if I've got a little piece of white card that we can see underneath. Let's pop that one here so we can see how there is the end of the die cut aperture, and the end of the die, I'm making sure that it overlaps at that angle. So what I can then do, still using my low tack tape, and at this point you could change the actual angle if you want. If you wanted it to be more less of an angle, you can do. If you wanted it to be more of effect, then you can pull it down. But I'm going to go kind of maybe round about midway, lining that one up again, just to that edge. We're going to tape it down into place. We can then go back in with our plates, popping them up. We can then take in all our sandwich layers, run that one through once again, popping it in. So this now constructs and creates that worker element. So this is when you get to do that fun bit of creating. So whether it is colouring, stamping, die cutting, or just getting that movement, this is where all that fun bit comes into place. I'm going to take all of that and I'm going to move it out the way because we don't need it just now. And carefully moving these bits. Now you can see this is where we have got that angle now. So this is where once we pop our little mouse in place, it's going to start doing that movement. So at this point, what we can do is now we know where our worker aperture is, we can start to stamp into place. So I'm going to bring in my stamping platform and my stamping mat. And I would be colouring in with my Tri-Blends or Classiques. So this is where what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring in my alcohol-proof ink pad. Bringing in our cupcake here. We'll do a little bit of stamping. We'll get the colour layered up. And then on this one, I'm going to pop the cupcake at a slight angle here and press. I can then come back again. I'm going to re-ink my cupcake. I'm going to do it at more of an angle here and press. Then what we can do is we can come along with these little love hearts, and we're going to create a little cluster together. So towards this left-hand side, so we're filling up certain areas of our die-cut cardstock. So if I then go into place here. I'm going to do a couple more into place here. And then let's do one more here. And we can then see, once I've pressed that into place, we will then carry on building up that design, which then would then look like this one. So you can see how we've built that one up. We've got our stamp design and we've got our aperture effect onto the back. So I've taken a piece of our cardstock, and what I've done is, using the die, I've popped it through my Gemini and we have die cut out the silhouette of the mouse. What I've then done is taken the stamp, so this is the coordinating stamp of the mouse, and I've stamped that one over the top using my alcohol-proof ink pad, which then looks like that one. So you can see how it starts to come to life. Then what we're going to do is we can then move these bits out the way. We're then going to bring back in our actual background that we've started to build up with our stamped impressions. We're bringing in a couple of pennies, and then what we can also do as well, bring in our foam pads. So I've got these square ones, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to bring in my scissors, and I'm going to then chop out one of these squares, because what I'm then going to do is I'm going to sort of create my own circle foam pad. Very roughly, it doesn't need to be exact. I'm going to then go all the way around. So if we then do our circle, and the only thing that you want to try and make sure of when it comes to the circle foam pad is it's actually going to fit within that worker element here. Now what I need to do is I need to make it a little bit smaller. So I'm going to add a little bit more pressure with my scissors to create a smaller circle. So we can then try that and have a look. Maybe just a tiny little bit more. We're then going to take that bit off. And I say circle, and I say that loosely. It doesn't need to be an exact perfect circle, as long as you've got that roundness to it so that the worker starts to work well. Now for this one, what I'm then going to do is I'm going to bring in my penny to start with, and I'm going to then take the backing off my foam pad. So if I take the backing off, and I'm going to set that into the middle of my penny, I'm going to take the backing off of that one. What I can then do is bring in our background, and I'm going to set that one over the top. So our foam pad is just popping through. We're then going to bring in our penny, and I'm going to lay that right over the top of our penny underneath, and I'm going to press. So this is now giving us our movement when it comes to the worker. We're going to bring back in our mouse, and then what we can do again is we can bring in another foam pad, and I'm going to chop this down, not into a circle. I'm still going to keep it square, but I want to make it a little bit smaller. Alternatively, you might have your small foam pads at home. You could easily enough use that one. So if we then pop our foam pad on the back of our penny, once again, I'm going to press so that foam pad is nicely adhered to the penny. We're bringing in our mouse. If we then place our mouse over the top, so now that we've got that worker bit started, before we start to create the movement, what we're going to do is turning it over, and you can see how it's nicely held into place using our penny. Let's bring in either our foam pads or our foam on a roll, and I'm going to go around the edges, and what we're going to do is that's going to create that depth onto the back, but what it'll also do is create that space so that your penny or any coin that you choose to use is then going to slide back and forwards. So we can go all the way around. And when it comes to the edges here, all that I'm doing is I'm making sure I'm not completely close up to the edge. But what I'm also going to do is I'm going to add a little bit of foam into here. This is going to stabilize this back bit, but we've still got ample room for the penny to slide around. Let's do this one here. We're going to add a little bit here. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the backing off, and I've taken some of my paper and my pattern paper that's in with the subscription box, and we are going to layer that on top. So taking the backing off, and I have used our foam on a roll, but you might want to use your foam pads for this one, not a problem. So we can start to take the backing off here, last couple here, here, and then here. This is then stabilizing it, and then that means that we're going to get that really fun worker as it goes all the way around. Let's press our foam pad in. I'm then going to position that one over the top. And once I'm happy, I'm going to press. So if we press that one in, press our movement in. Now give it a little bit of a slide in action for it to work. So we're going to turn it all the way around. If you need to go in slightly and lift it, you can do. But then what we can then do, bringing in the one that's already been coloured, we've added our sentiment, and we can see how that not only twirls around, but it goes back and forwards, and it goes at that really fun angle as well. So a nice different way in which you can be making your cards when it comes to subscription box number 35, and it's all about the penny sliders. How much fun is that?